I shouldn't be here. What is this place? I can barely breathe. It feels like the walls are closing in. It's moving. Oh God, it's moving down. To understand what you just heard, to even begin to wrap your head around the horror of that moment, you need to know the story of this place. This is a journey I barely made it back from. I'm standing at the entrance to a place that officially doesn't exist. You won't find it on any map. There are no signs. It's a forgotten cemetery, a piece of land that was quietly scrubbed from modern records. But history doesn't just vanish. It festers. The story of this ground is a tapestry of deep-seated tragedy. It starts in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. During that time, young women from poor rural areas were trafficked overseas into forced prostitution. They were called the Karayuki-san, literally, Ms. Gone Overseas. Many who managed to return to Japan came back sick, disgraced, and with nothing. This land was one of the few places that would take them, a cemetery built on the fringes of a society that wanted to forget. So many of the graves here, now just nameless, crumbling stones, belong to them. But the darkness here has layers. As history marched toward global conflict, this place took on an even grimmer purpose. During World War II, this forgotten burial ground became a dumping spot for the unclaimed and the inconvenient. The ashes of soldiers, many of whom could never be identified, were brought here. And as the war reached its brutal end, it's said that the remains of not just soldiers, but also convicted and executed war criminals were interred on this same soil, their ashes mixed into unmarked mounds. So what you have is this unholy ground, a place holding the sorrow of exploited women, the trauma of lost soldiers, and the violent legacies of war criminals. All of them mixed together, all of them forgotten. After the war, when the country was desperate to rebuild and erase its painful past, places like this were just abandoned, left for nature to reclaim. The history was too dark, the combination of souls too volatile. At least, that's the legend. And I came here to find out what happens when you bury that much pain in one place and just leave it to rot. I thought I was exploring a piece of forgotten history. I had no idea that history was waiting to explore me. The path in is barely a path. It's more like a vague suggestion where the trees are slightly less committed to choking everything out. Every step crackles with dead leaves. And the first thing that gets you is the silence. It isn't peaceful. It's watchful. The kind of quiet that feels like a held breath that's been stretching on for decades. You can feel the moment you cross the boundary. It's like stepping through a veil. 1 second, you're in a normal forest. The next, you're in their domain. It's a feeling I've heard about at some of Japan's most sacred burial sites, like Okanoin Cemetery, where a bridge is said to separate the world of the living from the world of waiting spirits. You don't need a bridge here. You just know. The first graves are almost completely swallowed by the landscape. Simple, rounded stones, tilted and covered in moss. Most are unmarked, any name long since worn away by a century of wind and rain. These are believed to be the graves of the Karayuki-san. There's just a profound sadness here, an air of total abandonment. Some researchers say that in similar cemeteries, the graves of these women were positioned to face away from Japan, a final condemnation of the homeland that disowned them. I can't tell which way these face. They seem to point in every direction, as if they were just as lost in death as they were in life. I came here to document a forgotten tragedy. I have my camera, my audio gear, the essentials. I'm not really a paranormal investigator. I don't use spirit boxes or EMF meters. I believe the strongest impressions a place leaves aren't on equipment, but on you. Your senses, your gut. And right now, every instinct is telling me I'm not welcome here. There's a sound, right at the edge of my hearing, a faint rhythmic clicking. It sounds like wooden sandals on a stone path. The Japanese call them geta. I've heard stories from places like Okunoin about a spirit called Beto Beto-san, who follows you making that exact sound. But this doesn't feel harmless. I stop. The sound stops. I walk. It starts again. Click, clack, always just behind me. I keep turning around. Nothing. Just the oppressive green and gray of the decaying forest. As I go deeper, the graves start to change. The small personal stones give way to bigger, more utilitarian markers. Stark concrete pillars jutting out of the earth. I can just make out a fragment of kanji on one. Labor and died in service. These must be from the war era, the final resting place for soldiers whose remains were unceremoniously gathered. The feeling shifts from personal sorrow to the cold, industrial grief of war. It's like two different tragedies fighting for the same space. The air gets colder. The feeling of being watched is no longer coming from one direction, but from all around me. From the ground itself. It's a suffocating pressure. I'm starting to think this was a huge mistake. I've explored dozens of abandoned places, but none of them have felt so actively hostile. I push through a thicket of bamboo, and that's when I see it. And that's when everything changes. It doesn't belong here. Looming out of the gloom is a structure that's completely alien to its surroundings. It's a mausoleum, but like nothing I've ever seen. It's built in the style of an ancient kofun, one of Japan's keyhole-shaped burial mounds from the 3rd to 7th centuries. Those were tombs for emperors and nobles, symbols of incredible status. This is a place for outcasts. This one is smaller, made not of earth, but of a dark, almost black stone, fitted together with an unnerving precision. It has that iconic keyhole shape, a circle joined to a trapezoid, but the sharp angles feel more modern. Almost like a mid-20th century military bunker. There are no carvings, no decorations, just a single heavy stone door set into the base. My heart is pounding. This makes no sense. Why is a kofun-style tomb here? Ancient kofun were gateways to the afterlife, meant to be sealed forever. The clicking sound is gone. Now there's only a low hum, a vibration I can feel in my teeth. It's coming from the mausoleum. A mix of dread and an explorer's stupid curiosity pulls me forward. I approach the stone door. It's a massive slab that must weigh tons. There's no handle, no visible lock. I push against it just to see. It slides open with a quiet pneumatic hiss. The air that rushes out is freezing cold and smells like ozone, damp concrete, and something metallic and faintly organic, like old blood. The interior is not an ancient burial chamber. It's a small circular room lined with stainless steel, and in the center of the floor is a hidden elevator. It's not a normal elevator. It's more of a cage, a grated platform. The design is brutally functional, military grade. What's truly impossible is that it looks like a modern automated system. Japan has high-tech cemeteries now, where an ID card can summon a person's ashes from an underground vault. This looks like some forgotten prototype version of that, hidden inside a structure designed to look thousands of years old. A coffin tomb with a secret automated elevator in a cursed cemetery. What on earth was this place? The humming is louder in here. The platform is just waiting. There are no buttons inside the cage, just a single bare bulb flickering overhead. This is the point of no return. Everything in me is screaming to run. Get out and don't ever look back. But the question is too strong. What is down there? What secret is so horrifying it needs to be hidden like this? I step onto the platform. The moment my weight settles, the stone door hisses shut, plunging the room into darkness. And before I can react, the cage lurches. With the sound of grinding gears and humming electricity, I start to go down. The descent is sickeningly smooth. The walls of the shaft are just rough-hewn rock, rushing past in the flickering light. It feels like I'm being swallowed by the earth. I have no control, no buttons, no emergency stop. I'm just a passenger. My mind is racing. A secret facility under a cemetery? A wartime bunker? A lab? Then the humming changes. The smooth descent shudders to a halt. The air fills with a strange floral scent, like an overly sweet, cloying perfume. The metal walls of the cage begin to shimmer, turning translucent like smoked glass. And through the wall, a scene fades into view. It's a small, tatami-matted room. A young woman in a faded kimono is kneeling, her body shaking with coughs. She's rail-thin, her face pale. It's a vision of the past. I'm watching one of the Karayuki-san return to Japan, dying alone. The shame in the air is a physical force. The smell of cheap perfume she used to hide her sickness fills my lungs. I feel her despair, her loneliness. It's not just a vision. The elevator is forcing me to feel it. The scene dissolves. The elevator lurches down again, faster this time. It stops abruptly. The air changes. Now it stinks of sweat, fear, and cordite. The walls shimmer again. I see a muddy trench somewhere in the Pacific, lit by the hellish orange of explosions. Young men, barely boys, huddle in terror. I hear the screams, the roar of battle. I see a soldier fall, torn apart. I feel their shock, their grief, the crushing weight of survival. This is the fate of the soldiers whose ashes were dumped here. Their final moments were pure violence. I can feel the phantom shrapnel in my own limbs, the ringing in my ears. The vision vanishes. The elevator plummets. It's not a controlled descent anymore. It feels like free fall. It slams to a stop, throwing me against the wall. This time, the smell is the worst yet, a greasy, foul burning. And the sound. Hundreds of whispers, all speaking at once, fighting to be heard. The final vision appears. I'm surrounded by a swirling vortex of souls. I see the face of the sick girl, her eyes wide with terror. Her image is torn apart and merges with the face of the young soldier. Then that face is ripped away and replaced by a sneering, cruel face. One I know belonged to a war criminal. I'm witnessing the horrifying secret. The ashes. They were all mixed together. In Buddhist funerals, there's a ritual called kotsuage, where the family respectfully picks the bones of the deceased from the ashes. It's about ensuring the dead are whole for their journey. But here, there was no respect. The ashes of the innocent, the shamed, the traumatized, and the malevolent were all just combined. On this cursed ground, they fused. This isn't a haunting by individual ghosts. It's a collective, a hive mind of torment born from spiritual contamination. The Japanese call it a tatarigami, a powerful, vengeful god born from violent, unjust death. The whispers intensify, a storm of agony, shame, and rage. I feel their anger at being forgotten, their pain at being defiled. Their identities have been erased, blended into a single monstrous whole. They are trapped, reliving each other's worst moments forever. The vortex of faces rushes toward me. I feel 1,000 hands on me, pulling, trying to tear me apart and add my own voice to their chorus of suffering. I scream, and as I do, the bulb overhead explodes. The elevator shoots upwards with impossible speed, firing me out of the depths of hell. The force pins me to the floor, and my consciousness slips away. I woke up on the floor of the mausoleum. The stone door was wide open, spilling cool twilight air into the steel chamber. The elevator was silent, its door open, as if inviting me back. I scrambled out on my hands and knees, gasping, shaking uncontrollably. I didn't look back, I just ran. I crashed through the undergrowth, branches tearing at my clothes and skin, not even feeling it. I was fueled by a terror so profound it was almost a religious experience. I didn't stop until the oppressive silence of the cemetery was replaced by the distant sound of a highway. I collapsed on the side of a road, miles from where I started, covered in scratches and cold sweat. It's been a few days. My rational mind is desperately trying to explain it. A hallucination? Some kind of gas in the shaft? I want to believe that. But I can't explain the mausoleum. I can't explain the impossible elevator. And I can't forget what I felt. The shame of that dying girl. The terror of that young soldier. The pure malice of the others. That wasn't a dream. It was a memory. I was an unwilling audience to a psychic scar left on the very fabric of that place. Japanese spirituality has a deep respect for the boundary between the living and the dead. Everything is about maintaining balance. This cemetery is the opposite of that. It is a monument to disrespect. A place where the souls of the dead were not guided, but trapped and blended into an eternal nightmare. The horrifying secret of that place isn't that it's haunted. It's that it gave birth to something new. A single suffering entity created from the mingled ashes of the damned, the sorrowful, and the wronged. And the question that keeps me awake at night is this: was that elevator showing me a past that sealed away? Or was it an invitation? Are those souls still down there in the dark, just waiting for the next person to stumble upon their tomb? Thank you for coming on this journey. This was, without a doubt, the most terrifying experience of my life. The history of the Karayuki-san and the unmarked graves is very real, rooted in the tragic complexities of the past. What I experienced down in that shaft, I can only tell you what happened to me. So I have to ask, what do you think I saw down there? A supernatural event, a psychic echo, or some kind of hidden psychological trap? Let me know your theories in the comments. I'll be reading them. If you want to support more investigations into the world's forgotten places, please hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps us continue these explorations into the unknown. There are places on Earth that have soaked up so much pain, they're no longer just patches of ground. They become something else. They develop a memory, a consciousness. I look at the world differently now. I think about all the forgotten burial sites across the globe, the mass graves, the lonely cemeteries. How many more places like this are there? How many more entities are being born from our own cruelty and neglect? I went looking for a story about a forgotten cemetery, and I found a story about what happens when souls are denied peace. It's a story that is now a part of me. I can still feel the cold of that elevator. I can still hear the whispers in the dark. I escaped the cemetery, but I'm not sure it will ever truly let me go. Stay safe and be careful what secrets you go digging for. You might just uncover them.